Welcome to our in-depth exploration of the American Civil War. In this video, we will delve into the key events and figures that shaped this defining conflict in American history. I don't think people understand the true impact of the American Civil War. A nation born of liberty, torn asunder by the chains of slavery. The Southern economy thrived on the backs of enslaved people, creating a stark contrast with the North. Brother against brother, father against son. Families were divided, friendships shattered, and communities torn apart by the brutal realities of war. It was a conflict that would define a nation, shaping its character and its future for generations to come. The scars of this war would linger long after the last battle was fought. The year was 1861. The United States stood on the brink of a war that would test its very soul. A young nation, barely a century old, found itself on the precipice of destruction. The ideals of freedom and equality were at stake. The issue at the heart of this turmoil, slavery, an institution that had become deeply entrenched in the Southern way of life. The Southern states, economically dependent on slave labor, clung fiercely to the institution. Their entire way of life seemed to hang in the balance. The North, with its burgeoning industries and growing abolitionist movement, increasingly viewed slavery as a moral abomination. The call for its end grew louder and more insistent. The chasm between these two worlds grew wider with each passing year, fueled by political rhetoric, economic disparities, and moral convictions. The nation was on a collision course. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of the Republic. The echoes of this conflict would resonate through history, a testament to the nation's enduring struggle for unity and justice. The seeds of conflict were sown long before the first shots were fired at Fort Sumter. The roots of this discord can be traced back to the very founding of the United States. The Founding Fathers, while crafting the Constitution, grappled with the issue of slavery, ultimately choosing to defer its resolution for the sake of unity. This decision, though pragmatic at the time, laid the groundwork for future strife. This uneasy compromise, however, only served to postpone the inevitable. The question of slavery continued to fester, becoming a ticking time bomb. As the nation expanded westward, the question of slavery in new territories ignited fierce debates. Each new state added to the Union brought with it the contentious issue of whether it would be a free or slave state. The Missouri Compromise of 1820, which attempted to maintain a balance between free and slave states, the Compromise of 1850, which introduced the controversial Fugitive Slave Act, and the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which allowed territories to decide the issue of slavery through popular sovereignty, were all attempts to quell the rising tide of sectionalism. Each compromise, however, only served to further inflame tensions, pushing the nation closer to the brink. The political landscape became increasingly polarized, with both sides digging in their heels. The voices of abolitionists like Frederick Douglass, who eloquently spoke out against the injustices of slavery, and Harriet Tubman, whose courageous efforts in the Underground Railroad helped many escape to freedom, grew louder. Their pleas for justice and equality reverberated throughout the land, adding fuel to the growing fire of conflict. The election of 1860 proved to be the breaking point. Abraham Lincoln, a relatively unknown lawyer from Illinois, emerged as the candidate of the newly formed Republican Party. Lincoln's platform, while not advocating for the immediate abolition of slavery, opposed its expansion into new territories. This stance was anathema to the Southern states, who viewed Lincoln's election as a direct threat to their way of life. On December 20, 1860, South Carolina took the drastic step of seceding from the Union. 6 other Southern states soon followed suit, forming the Confederate States of America. The die was cast. America was on the brink of a civil war. On April 12, 1861, the Confederate Army, under the command of General P.G.T. Beauregard, opened fire on Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor, South Carolina. The bombardment, which lasted for 34 hours, marked the beginning of the American Civil War. The attack on Fort Sumter galvanized the North. President Lincoln called for 75,000 volunteers to quell the rebellion, and the nation mobilized for war. 4 more Southern states, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina, joined the Confederacy, bringing the total number of Confederate states to 11. The lines were drawn, and the bloodiest conflict in American history had begun. The American Civil War was a clash of titans, a brutal and bloody affair that raged for 4 long years. It was a conflict that pitted brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, and tested the very fabric of the young nation. From the rolling hills of Gettysburg to the dense thickets of the wilderness, the two armies clashed in a series of epic battles that would forever be etched in the annals of American history. These battles were not just military engagements, they were a test of wills, strategies, and endurance. At Antietam in Maryland, the single bloodiest day in American history unfolded, leaving over 22,000 soldiers dead, wounded, or missing. The sheer scale of the carnage shocked the nation and the world, highlighting the devastating human cost of the war. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania witnessed a 3-day battle that turned the tide of the war in favor of the Union. This pivotal clash not only marked a turning point in the military campaign, but also in the morale and resolve of the Union forces. Vicksburg, Mississippi, a strategic Confederate stronghold on the Mississippi River, fell after a 6-week siege, granting the Union control of the vital waterway. This victory effectively split the Confederacy in two, crippling their ability to sustain the war effort and marking a significant step towards the eventual Union victory. As the war raged on, President Lincoln issued a document that would forever alter the course of American history. On January 1, 1863, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that all slaves in Confederate-held territory were to be set free. The Emancipation Proclamation was a watershed moment in the Civil War. It transformed the conflict from a struggle to preserve the Union into a fight for human freedom. The proclamation also had strategic implications, allowing black men to enlist in the Union Army and Navy. Hundreds of thousands of African Americans answered the call, fighting bravely for the cause of freedom and helping to turn the tide of the war in the Union's favor. The relentless campaigns of Union generals Ulysses S. Grant and William T. Sherman gradually wore down the Confederacy. Sherman's devastating march to the sea, a scorched earth campaign through Georgia, crippled the South's ability to wage war. On April 9, 1865, at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia, Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered his Army of Northern Virginia to General Grant. The surrender effectively ended the Civil War. The Confederacy was defeated, slavery was abolished, and the Union was preserved. The Civil War left an indelible mark on the nation. Over 620,000 soldiers perished, countless others were wounded, and the South lay in ruins. The process of rebuilding the nation, both physically and emotionally, would be a long and arduous one. The Reconstruction era, which followed the war, was a time of great promise and deep division. The newly freed slaves faced enormous challenges as they sought to build new lives for themselves in a society that was still grappling with the legacy of slavery. The South, devastated by the war, struggled to come to terms with defeat and adapt to a new era of freedom and equality. The American Civil War, though fought over a century and a half ago, continues to resonate in the 21st century. The issues of race, equality, and the legacy of slavery continue to be debated and grappled with in modern America. Understanding the Civil War, its causes, and its consequences is essential for comprehending the complexities of American society today. The war serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of democracy, the importance of dialogue and compromise, and the enduring power of hope and resilience. Thank you for watching our detailed examination of the American Civil War. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more historical insights and analyses.